Hello, and welcome to the 5th episode of Talks with the Tax Cop. Look, say that again. Talks with the Tax Cop. Hi, my name is Patrice Berry, enrolled agent, aka the Tax Cop. And I know y'all see this dude, those who are watching, see this dude sitting next to me, and you're probably like wondering who that is. But we're gonna get to it. This is my first episode where I am actually interviewing a person, and I will be interviewing people, like I said, all throughout February. And I want to take the time out because this is not just important because it's my initial interview, but it's because this person means a lot to me, right? This person helps to motivate me, helps to support me, has known me for quite some time, is looking off to the side. I need him to act like he's engaged in the podcast. This is my husband, Eric Berry. And the reason why I'm talking to him initially, not just because he's readily available, for those of you all who know that's on this podcast that y'all supposed to be meeting with me and get on my schedule, but because he's an entrepreneur. He truly is one of the first entrepreneurs that I have seen adjust, adapt, grow, when at the time I was working a 9-to-5 and was like, that's your thing, this is my thing. So I wanted to take the time to interview him so you could hear his story from himself, hear the ups and downs and challenges, and see why I think he's phenomenal, right? And also learn how similar you all have it and what their some differences are, right? And just have a safe space to just have a dialogue, right? So that's what we're going to jump into today. I'm going to talk to people from different industries, different entrepreneurs, people at different stages in entrepreneurship, y'all, because it's levels and stages to this. And then I want to hear your feedback on somebody else y'all know I could talk to, what you liked, what stuck with you, what nugget you took away. And so we're going to jump right into it, okay? So even though I already introduced my husband, Eric Berry, I'm going to let him introduce himself, all right? So Eric, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So now I'm your husband. We have 4 children. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a master electrician. I do mostly general construction work for commercial buildings, properties. I'm an investor in real estate and other things.
Okay. So what made you choose trades like electrician, general construction? Really, what drew you into that industry?
Well, I wanted to be an electrician probably in 9th, 10th grade, because I always figured that if you had that kind of trade, then you'll never be without work, because you look around and everything has power to it.
Okay.
So I started out just wanting to be a regular electrician. So a friend of mine introduced me to Local 26. It's International Brother Electrical Workers.
Yeah, so we can both be in the frame. Okay.
So I did a 5-year apprenticeship there. I worked with various companies. I was fortunate enough to work with a lot of small companies. I was able to meet owners of companies and things of that nature. So I would say my 4th or 5th year, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get my own company, right? I'm gonna be a master electrician and all that. So that's where it all came from. And I started out, finished the apprenticeship. I think I stayed with the local, about a year. I think I met you right before I left.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And I started the company in 2003. So I finished my apprenticeship in like 99, I believe.
Right.
2001, 2002. Yeah, in 2003 we started ED Enterprise.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we met in 2001.
2001. Yep.
So
that's how it happened.
Why entrepreneurship? Like all this, you just gave us like a short timeline of what you got exposed to, how you were exposed to it. Why? What made you say in the 4th or 5th year of being an apprentice that hey, I am going to own my own?
Well, I think what really pushed me towards that direction because electricians can be an up and down trade or career.
Yeah.
And I mean by, you'll have work for a while,
Right.
and then you'll have work for 6 months to a year,
right?
You don't have steady work. And so as an apprentice, I was working for these companies, but I was working like a mechanic. So I was working like I was an electrician, not as an apprentice. So I would run work, or I would work on my own for these people. And so even though I wanted to be in business, I really thought I was going to wind up like a foreman or superintendent for a company.
Gotcha.
Because as an apprentice, I was working circles around the electricians, the mechanics.
Right.
And, and that was an opportunity for me to learn how to be an electrician. So I came out my time with this company. I'm not going to mention the name. And the owner of the company, he came to me because when you get ready to come out your time, when I say come out your time, you finish in your 5th year of the apprenticeship, you can select another company to go to. So the owner of this particular company that I was working for, he came to me and he said, Eric, look, you've been running these small projects for me. I want, I'm gonna make you a foreman, all that whoop-de-doo stuff, right? All the good stuff. So I was like, I bet. And so I came on my time and I got sick. I was getting sick because my sinuses, I had real bad sinuses, and it was due to working on these jobs, these construction jobs, the ventilation, stuff like that. So my sinuses got real bad on this guy's job. So I started missing days. And and when I was working, I had other electricians. They be like, Eric, they ain't gonna like you when you come out your time. This is what they tell me. They ain't gonna like you when you come out your time. Talk a lot of stuff.
Thank you for keeping it PG. Y'all don't understand. This is hard for him.
Yeah. He said, I talk about, like, when you know what you're doing, you cocky. I was kind of cocky, but I wasn't too cocky, right? And the guy, Monty Brown, he said, they ain't gonna like you when you come out your time, because you know what you're doing. And he just got, that's what he kept saying, like, yeah, whatever. And when I got sick, the guy, the owner and stuff, they told me, oh, don't come back to work right now. And they had my tools there. They brought it to the office. And I was like, what do you mean don't come back to work? He said, man, I'm getting better. He's like, nah, I just don't come back to work. I said, man, you laying me off? He wouldn't lay me off because, I had layoff stuff, all right. So I said, oh, okay, I know how this goes. So it's private sector. It ain't like it's government. So, they can do what they want to do in private sector, right? And so,
no, you can't have any cake right now.
So,
we recording the podcast. Y'all getting this real live because we always have to have a guest appearance from Francois, tax credit number 4. Right. Every time. Right. Every time. I'm interviewing Dad. You have to share the cake with me later. Go eat something and then share the cake with me later. Shut the door, please. Can you shut the door? Like really hard? No, not hard. Just pull it to you, with you on the other side, so we can finish the podcast. Slowly. Yes, please. Wonderful. Appreciate you. He was giving you tools.
Anyway, so he wouldn't lay me off. So I said, whatever. So I had grabbed my tools, and Monty Brown called called the guy, that electrician.
Right.
He said, I told you, these jokers, they don't care nothing about you. He said, he said, that's why I was saying, he said, you doing the work. And right now you making the money, da, 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 da.
Right.
But when it boils down to it, they're not gonna care about you. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So he was like, that's what I'm saying. He said, you sick or whatever. These guys don't care about you. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how they was. But the companies like that, your presence and something that's that. Anyway, so that's when I was like, okay, I get it, right? And he said, while he was talking to me, he said, now, once you get laid off, like, okay, when you're an electrician, once you get laid off, and if you're not with that company that you came out your time with as an apprentice, your reputation is gone away, right? So now you got to go sign it. Now you got to go sign what they call a book, right? And referral agents for the hall, for these different jobs for electricians, but they all construction, so it's from ground up.
Gotcha.
And not know like what the kind of work I do, tenant build out,
right, and our service, yeah.
The real,
right.
So now when you go into that, you definitely work yourself out of a job. But that's the name of the game.
Right.
Right. So he told me that, and at that time, I'm gonna date myself. At that time, that's when the internet had really been
in everybody's home and stuff
right.
Like that.
Well, introduced to the regular people. I mean,
we was doing dial-up.
Yeah,
that's when
we had that. I mean,
we had the card.
You had the net zero and stuff like that, but you wouldn't have got that if we didn't go out there and make these big .com data centers. We was building data centers. So that's what I'm saying. On it. Okay, they must. But you gotta think, we didn't have cell phones.
I mean, it was just coming out.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. I got you. So you were part of, like, this is the infrastructure that we're building and coming, and those projects were.
Yeah, that's when you first really met, right?
You were working at the convention center.
Working at the convention center. Like that kind of job. And the whole time, but like after that was like 99, 2000. From 2000 on, I signed a book. Monty Brown was like, just take it, because it was nothing but, this is when it's good to be an electrician, a union electrician.
Gotcha.
Because when you have a 10-year run, 9-year run of work, it's a young man game. You go on these jobs and you're working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day.
Okay, so you can stack your cash.
Right, so you stacking your cash.
Right.
But you got to understand how to do that. That's tax things. So you know what I'm saying? You gotta know how to play.
You gotta play the game.
Right, because they tax them. That's how you do that.
Correct.
But in doing that, it was fine and dandy, but it's the same thing. I would go to jobs and your presence would scare people. Because if you, I'm pretty sure it's like this in every career or whatever. If you solid and you know what you're doing, and you come and you walk on the job like you belong there. Yeah.
Right.
So it's like your presence frightened people. And at this time, I was like 25, 26. So I'm a 25, 26-year-old out my time. These guys didn't even know I was an electrician. They thought I was an apprentice. They thought I was an apprentice.
You had graduated.
Yeah, I graduated.
You were a mechanic.
I was a mechanic. So I'm out my time. When I had to lead that company, I came out of time. So I was an electrician then. So I was an A mechanic. I finished my apprenticeship.
But let's go back. So all of this stuff happened. What made you decide at that time, right? Because some of y'all know. So even in the hall, right? So they'll do side work. Like you'll ask, hey, do you do side work and all this kind of stuff, right? Some of you don't know. What made you say, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna actually at least set up a company. I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying?
I would think what made me do it is throughout my my journey, through that whole electrical apprenticeship, through the 2 years that I stayed working there as a mechanic, I would say what happened was I'm the type of person that I listen to everybody. So I listen to everything around me and how people, they talk or whatever. But I always knew that I wanted to be a master electrician.
Got you.
And I wanted my own company because I seen these, I seen these small, I work with these smaller guys, and I really knew at the end of the day, I really knew that these guys, it's not that they didn't, I would say, I'm not gonna say they liked me or they didn't, but I wasn't gonna have a position.
Okay.
And any of that.
To be a company man for their company.
Right, and that wasn't what I, and for a person like me, I think it was inevitable for me to be an entrepreneur, because I'm not going to dance to your beat. So it was just more than just you working yourself out of a job, being laid off, being, of course, always being stepped over. They didn't want me as I would say, you would say management position or something like that.
Got you, right, like in a company,
Right, in a company, because they knew, oh, this guy.
You don't play by the rules.
No, not just that, but I know what I'm doing. I'm confident. So
it's more beneficial to you to be out in the field,
because they know,
they
know this guy right here. He can do it. Like I could do any. I run circles or doing the mechanic is just. I run circles around the electrician.
So you could get the work done.
Right.
So it's not necessarily we need you to be
right.
in-house.
They didn't want you. They didn't want at that time. For certain companies, they don't want you like that. They want you to do what you exactly do.
Got you. So you're the tool.
Yeah.
So
you're the craftsman tool. That's what I say. And when you're a craftsman tool. So if you understand craftsman tool, it's a tool, a hand tool that you used to be able to break the tool and send it back to the Sears and replace it. That's how electrician is. They're breaking, working, and lay you off, send you back and replace you if they have to.
Good. Go eat some more. All right. So y'all are just getting this, and we're gonna make this as candid as possible. So when you went and established and created the company, this is why I try to do podcasts when they're not here. But sometimes it's not done that way. When you created the company, did you know what you were, let's be real, do you know what you were doing? Did you know what you needed to do to register it? Like, who had taught you, oh, go set up this business, do it this way?
I think when I created the company, I already understood that you have to have some kind of corporation, whether it be an LLC or whatever. I had an accountant that did my personal taxes.
Gotcha.
And their firm helped me start the first company. But that's going, that's just me understanding. I would say rich dad, poor dad.
Okay.
Rich dad, poor dad.
All right.
So
so some of this, y'all, I'm looking because I had not, some of these things I know, of course. We've been married for 17 years. We've been together for almost 20. But some of it I'm listening because I get to interview him and I'm watching his mannerism. I'm hearing from a different angle than I've ever heard before. So it wasn't necessarily the tax part, right? What you read Rich Dad Poor Dad before you went and got your taxes done with Jason and them?
Yeah, but I read Rich Dad Poor Dad before that. I knew I was already going to get my taxes done. Okay. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad just between the whole time.
Got you.
And before that, I was reading Multiple Stream of Income. I mean, at a certain time, like I think what happened was it's like just listen. Like that's what I liked about the Local 26, the 5-year apprenticeship. Because you come across with all walks of life.
Got you.
And nationalities, whatever you want to call it, right? And you get to see the do's and the don'ts.
Gotcha.
And it's a for a young man, it's a beautiful thing because if you want to be better and move with a purpose,
Gotcha.
and you want results. If you just listen, and you pick up a lot of nuggets. It's just like even when I first bought my house, it was certain things that you listen. Like my accountant, I was like, I always wanted to buy. I'm gonna buy a house because watching these guys buy a house.
Right.
So my accountant was talking to me. I want to buy a house. He was like, you should buy a house in DC because this got $5,000, give you $5,000.
Right. The credits. Right.
The credits. So and you listen, and then you take action. And that's.
But you're hitting on something big because people hear stuff, listen, right? Mm-hmm. It's a lot of times we absorb stuff, but what made you take action? That's the difference. You heard stuff and you actually applied what people were saying. Did you do the research, or did you say, all right, my accountant's been doing my taxes for a couple of years now. I trust the advice. I haven't had any issues. The IRS ain't been knocking on my door. So because they're trustworthy, I might as well take the next step.
Well, yeah. You do your research, you seek wise counsel. That's what you call wise counsel. People that that's credible, what you're looking for.
Right.
But I think that part of it, it's not just that, like you seeking advice from a professional that understands what you look for. You gotta have a purpose. It's like everything that I would say getting a house, that's just was my checklist. It's like no different than I'm going to go buy these Jordans. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just that was a checklist, and I had that checklist at a young age.
So a lot of times you tell me, and you said it, you just said it, you learned what to do and what not to do. Mm-hmm. What do you find has taught you more in life, from people's mistakes or people's successes? Just like, and I'm not talking about books you've read or anything like that. I'm talking about because you've been out in the field, you've watched people do stuff, you've worked with your hands, you've transitioned, you are a company owner, you're working in government buildings, you've had different contracts, you've been exposed to different things. Is it people's successes or people's failures that you believe have taught you more?
I think it's kind of like it would be a mixture of both. I would say you see a lot of failures. You see a lot of failures or a lot of wrong moves that companies make.
Right.
And you learn from that. But the successes too, because you get to see certain things about, oh, you went that way and that's why it's successful. You know what I'm saying? Or you reacted this way and that's why the turnout was like this.
I like that you said. I like the fact that you like that emphasis on react.
Oh yeah,
is important.
Yeah, because you could, you're emotional.
Yes.
People are emotional. I know I'm emotional.
Right.
I'm emotional. I burn bridges.
You do. You've gotten better.
Yeah.
But how have you done that? The self-discipline.
Yeah, I mean.
Or because you got people in your team, like you've had several different teams throughout this journey. Like you said, you established the company in 2003. Mm-hmm. We had the company established one way. He established it as a sole proprietorship at that time. I don't think it might have been an LLC. Like this company.
This company that EV Enterprise
wasn't an LLC.
It was Delaware.
Right. So
it was an LLC.
It was an LLC.
Prior to that, because I wasn't doing a lot of stuff.
You had a sole proprietorship that I dissolved when we were dating.
That wasn't EV Enterprise. It was just a sole.
It just was so right. So he's had several different entities that some he's dissolved, some he adapted the way they were structured. Mm-hmm. And I would say about every 3 years or so. When you say about every 3 years, we got to reinvent ourselves. In some way,
you gotta adjust. You gotta
adjust,
too.
right? So adjust every year. We gotta adjust, right? Because we're in some sort. We have the MDOT. We're 8A at the time that this is recorded. We're going through the last part of our 8A program, but you have to relook at what you're focusing on.
Oh yeah, you gotta relook at it. You gotta
Re-innovate. You have to. Yep.
But
you have to be innovative again. You have to go back to the lab.
But I continue to change, to add on. You know what I'm saying? Like when it started off, like, I'm an electrical contractor, that's great. But you transition out of certain things, and then like I'm a GC.
You're a GC. And so what's the difference?
GC, a developer.
Okay.
I think it's like, and there's nothing wrong with being an electrical contractor. They make a lot of money. It's just you got to which for me is what your interest is and what you good at is the best bet for you to invest in.
True.
Outside of learning the typical investment, I guess. But,
right.
For me, it's just like you stay with what you know. I like what I do. I really love what I do. So,
what's your favorite part of what you
do? I think talking with people, talking with the people that want the service,
helping to solve their problem,
getting in there, being able to see something go from not so good condition to great.
The finished product.
The finished product.
I have to tell y'all this, so I'm gonna jump in. I do have to say, they'll come to me because, of course, I'm the numbers person, right? The tax cop. I'm the numbers person on a team, and the crew will come ask me, like, "Hey, what do you see?" And like Eric said, he's invested. Like he liked to flip, like rehab and flip houses and stuff. I've seen stuff, and I'm like, "This is what?" He's like, "Oh." And he can see stuff out of nothing. Like Trudy's a visionary. He'll see it and be like, okay, we're going to change this. We're going to fix this. Like, so like this office, this used to be his office and it looked totally different than when it was his office. I can't see it until it's done. I'm like, how much it would cost? What is it? And he's like, oh, okay. And I'm going to make it like this. And I just don't see it. He can come into your situation and solve it. Really. He'll look and be like,
oh. Construction
situation. He'll come into a space and be like, let's redesign it to look like this. Or had you thought about doing this? And he's not necessarily just, let me come in and take your money or whatever. He really will be like, you have the option to do this, but this option will help you better. And he has to be this is the thing, he has to be in a space to see it. So sometimes, especially over the last 2 years, he'll be like, hey, can you take me some pictures? Can you send me a video or something like that so I can advise you as to what to do and what not to do, right? And he'll tell you certain things you can do yourself, like especially like electrical and certain things, he'll be like, fix this, do this, do this, do this. And if it don't work, then call me back. He has a lot of integrity, but I can tell you, I am not the person to be like, oh, that look good. I'll be like, oh, when it's finished, let me know. And I have seen stuff where I'm like, that look like some trash. Let me see it when it's done. And I'll be like, oh, y'all did that? That is the color scheme and the matching and this go with this and this is how you put it together. That definitely works for me. And that really is, that I really do think that's how we complement each other. Like he is 100% the visionary, and he'll say, these are the big steps, like big picture, boom, 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 boom. And I get in and I get down into the details and the technicality of how it works and how it fixes. I do say that he also hit on a very good point. And the point was, even though he loves what he does and he reinvents himself, another accountant gave us a great tip at the time when we were Mr. Rice, right when we were trying to figure out where to go in 2008. Right? Because 2008 became a real transitional year for a lot of people, period. Not just because of what was going on with the real estate crash and stuff like that, but we were trying to figure out where we were going to go next, construction-wise. I'm still working full-time. And I was just like, that's your thing, you figure it out. And Mr. Rice gave the advice of, at the time, Eric knew he wanted to be a general contractor. He said he wanted to be a general contractor and a developer, but he was just subcontracting as an electrician. And what Mr. Rice said to him at that time was, you ride what's working to get you to where you need to get to. Yeah. Whatever's taking off now, that's what you do until what you want to do takes off. And so that nugget, I will believe, and God rest his soul, good dude, really good dude. I learned a lot from him. I actually learned a lot from going and talking to the people that did Eric's taxes before that. Mr. Cook and his firm on how to operate. And I watched stuff they did. Like it really. Yeah, no, not even just the price, not even just, you know what I'm saying? It was the service and the way they showed you the benefit.
Right, they taught you, right?
Right.
While they was doing whatever they were doing for you, especially with taxes, he taught you,
without making anything illegal. Like you didn't have to want the IRS knocking your door.
No, that wasn't, no, everything was like, everything was on IRS clients.
Right.
IRS don't play, so. And I already understood IRS. That's right. I think that's the one thing. I think what people, business in general, or with myself in general, I understand IRS. So
the three letters he can't. He like the three letters he don't play with is I, R, and S. That's what I tell you.
So I understood that from
young.
From a young age. So all right, business is business, personal is personal. If you don't pay me, I'm taking everything up, period.
How do you know not to? How do you know to keep the fine line where you don't commingle, where you can actually distinctly separate the two? Because Eric has been. Don't look at his face. He's been a sole proprietor. His company has been an S corporation, and now it's operating like a C corporation. And each one of those moves, we strategically sat down and talked about what the entity should be at that time and why. And we're even in discussion trying to decide, do we now go from a C corporation back to an S corporation, or how do we structure? Now, mind you, this is the LLC. We've had these intricate talks, but why and when and what did you learn during each one of those processes?
Well,
if that makes sense. Because I know that was a big loaded question.
I think that your selection for like an LLC or sole proprietorship, because you just starting off and you're not making no money. Right? So, but to get to the LLC and and doing that,
right? The S
corp, and then the S corp and the C corp, it's your cash flow or your revenue that you generate. And then you got, it depends on like your situation, like if it's how many members as part of the company or True. Ownership of the company.
True.
Or what position is spouses, if any,
True.
is in it, and
what role everybody's playing.
What role they're playing, and because if something happened to you, and like for us, it's like, okay, you pass this threshold, but if you keep going on, if you keep going higher and higher, and you making high figure income,
right, W-2, that's fast.
It's like you getting the W-2 over here, then you just like you gotta adjust accordingly if you want to,
because you're trying to keep as much as you can legally.
You're trying to keep as much as you can legally. It's all on the owner, and the owner's comfortable. How comfortable are you with the way you operate?
So, and I also packed another question in there. I said, so how do you keep yourself? And he made a face. How do you keep yourself from commingling? Because each of those entities, you have to operate differently.
Well, I'm not no tax expert or nothing like that. So I would just, certain things you just talk about commingling the personal and business.
All right.
I think that the good thing about like an LLC S corporation or C corporation, then you in business. So certain things you could just like, okay, that's just a business expense.
But everything isn't a business expense.
But outside of that, like you co-mingling is just like, what you gonna co-mingle? Like if you going out there and you paying your rent and buying groceries with your company, then that's the ignorance of you. You should have a personal account. That's co-mingling to me. But if you talking about how do I use this LLC to help me in some of my everyday life expenses, then legally you could get a company car. And
I give you that.
But co-mingling is like the best thing.
But how do you do that? So is the whole purpose of designing the business, is it to get those expenses? What is your main purpose of going into business? It's not to be writing everything off.
No, the whole thing is this. Going into business to me is nothing to do with you personally, like your personal life or your personal because the only thing you're gonna co-mingle in your business is from you is like an example, like your car note or your rent, you buy something at the store for
well, people be trying to pay clothes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you like certain things like that. It's like to prevent yourself from doing that. And you buy everything out your personal account, you know. Okay. And if you can't do that, then you just don't need whatever you're trying to buy personally. Now, if your business ain't kicking off that money for it to be like, oh, I'm gonna take a paycheck for it or a draw, however you want to get it out your business, you get it to your personal account. You got to get it out your business
to pay your personal expenses.
Right. You got to transfer it outside your business, pay taxes on it somehow for transferring it outside your business to yourself.
True.
And then you buy it.
Depending on what your entity is. Depending on what your entity is. Right. Because if you're owner's draw, it doesn't work that way. But you're right.
But other than that, I mean, listen, it depends on the company. Like my company buy uniforms every day, all the time. You know, clothes.
Do not buy uniforms every day. But
well, you know what I'm
saying? But they got logos. Everybody on the crew got shirts, and
so if you find
that's a legal way to.
Right. If you got like you got companies out here that they actually have services that come pick your uniforms up.
Well, that's true. That is true. That is true. For your cleaning and stuff like that. That's true.
Uniforms, but to go out and say, "Oh, I'm gonna buy a suit." That's crazy.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's personal.
So, and nowadays you can't even really go out and buy dinner. It's so but
So do you have a checklist that you use, or how did you learn? It's okay for me to write this off, but it's not okay for me to write this off. Like, be honest, where you learned that. How did you learn that?
How did I learn that? I just learned that talking with you, or we just being you. But we already like.
But some of it, even before me, and so this is not me trying to big up the tax cop. He learned this dealing with Mr. Cook and then when they were doing his. Oh yeah. When he was an electrician, and they were doing his taxes, and they were writing unreimbursed employee expenses off.
Right.
His boots, his tools, his things that he had to buy himself from being in the trade. I was sitting, like we were dating, I would go to those sessions and I'd be like, man.
Right, but that's because
they educated you.
That's because I was an electrician. Like everybody can't.
But at the time, okay, so remember the time we're talking about. In the current tax code, we cannot do that because on itemized deductions, there was a section called unreimbursed employer expenses. Certain things would happen. You of course, because I had people who were in healthcare and things of that nature. They would pay for their own education, their CPA, their CPR, and their employer would not reimburse them for it, but it was stuff they needed for their jobs. So it's coming back in 2025. It is on what it's supposed to superset in 2025, but there's a whole section in the IRS code on Schedule A that was unreimbursed employee expenses, and it was up to it fell under the 2% miscellaneous deduction. So you weren't getting a dollar for dollar deduction for it, but that's where all those deductions were happening, and we now no longer have them in the current code. We are going to continue to have them when and when the TCJA, Tax Cuts and Job Act, supersets itself in 2025. And so some of those things are going to come back onto the code unless Congress decides against it, right? Or unless somebody says under these new acts that we have, go ahead and bring some of that stuff back now, right? But the regular everyday person, unless they're reading, unless they're listening to something, unless they're talking to somebody who's in that field, it's not common practice. Yes, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. Yes, there's a lot of stuff that you hear as to how to function as a business owner, but it's not like we're learning this stuff at school.
No, you don't learn this at school.
I mean, I did because I have an accounting degree and a master's in taxation, so I understand that. But everybody's not learning this.
That's because you went to school
specifically for that. I did.
Everybody like. What's the question? How I get to know?
Like really, like how did that type of information fall into your lap? Where did you go to get that type of information to be like, hey, did you know that you could deduct this? Do you know you can deduct
I think
this?
it started out with
Mr. Cook.
It started out with the Network Financial Group.
The Network Financial Group.
Yeah, Mr. Cook and Jason.
And Jason. You had a person that was taking the time to educate you.
Right.
And I'm not saying that you have to. The benefit of paying a tax professional, right? It's worth the money. It's an investment. And I'm not saying any of this just to be like, hey, come see me, right? Pay just like I would pay you if something was wrong with my electricity, or if I had a project that I needed to get done. Don't call me at all. Like anybody that know us and they'll be like, hey, I know your husband's a master electrician and this, that, and other. I'd be like, don't call me. I don't do that. That's not my lane. You go to the people that are in their lane, that's their expertise. Whether you take their guidance or not, this is what you said at the beginning. Whether you take their guidance or not, you will actually go to them, get the information, and then deem yourself whether or not you're going to apply it or not. Right?
Yeah, deem yourself whether you're going to apply it. But it's got to be like, it's got to be like everything else. It's got to be your dream, your vision, that's what you want, your purpose. It's just because, like, at the end of the day, still, it's like people say, like, I can tell you, hey, man, go be an electrician, they make a lot of money.
True.
Right?
True.
If that's not you,
right.
You're doing something that you're never going to be, you're going to be like one of these just run workers.
No matter what you're doing. Facts. I get that.
Like, nah, you got to have a purpose, your own purpose. And you're going, it's like whatever's inside of the individual, I would assume, all this is just what,
This is your journey. Could you see yourself doing anything else? Like, could you see yourself going back to being an employee? Or
nah.
And why not? Be real, because you don't. You want to be in charge. Hold on, we almost done.
One more word.
We almost done. Why can't you see yourself being really, what does entrepreneurship mean to you?
Huh?
What does entrepreneurship really mean to you? Like, really, why entrepreneurship and not being
I would say it's about freedom.
Dad,
Freedom.
around it.
Can you wait? Freedom to do what?
I would say freedom to do what you want to do. Live your life the way you want to live it. Entrepreneurship is I would just say it's just that, just being able to do what you want to do.
Not there. Why?
Being able to Not check your son out on
I
TV.
know, I know, right?
On the screen TV, on the internet. I would say, yeah, it would just be freedom.
You just like to be on the camera. The freedom to do what you want to do. That lets you know, y'all. We can't get past it. We really can't. Y'all see, we can't get past it. I feel like this was an insightful interview. I learned some stuff that I did not know. I knew a majority of it, but I knew a majority of it, but to hear it from this stance, I know how important entrepreneurship is for you. And Eric is the one who introduced me to Rich Dad Poor Dad. Even though I went to a school of business and entrepreneurship, watching his journey gave me the permission to be okay to be in full-time entrepreneurship. So like I always function more so like an intrapreneur than an entrepreneur, but I can honestly say watching his journey from 2003 forward has definitely helped me be who I am and be able to support him. So I thank you for being my initial interview, because I'm the interviewer. I thank you for taking the time. I would love to have you come back on the podcast. Why are you looking at me like that? Would you come back on the podcast?
Sure, I come back.
You come back on the podcast where we can just talk about anything that we see that's going on, right?
Yeah.
In the news or dealing with stuff, does business and whatever. No?
I mean, I'll talk to you, but I'm not talking about certain things.
You're not gonna talk. You're not gonna talk about certain things on my podcast.
No.
All right. Well,
talk about.
It'll be about business.
Mom, look what I do.
The things that you might want to set up for, things that people, what to do, what not to do. I definitely think
Mom, it's squishing me.
the biggest nugget was listening. I hear that, knowing your purpose.
Mom.
Yes.
You gotta know your
What's
purpose.
this?
What happened to your hand? You pushed your hand.
My purpose is not to knock you out from this wall.
What happened to your hand? But that's all we have for you this week.
Ow!
I'm looking forward.
Don't punch me in the tummy.
I'm looking forward to next week when I talk to another tax pro who specializes in nonprofit accounting. We actually have done a live on my Instagram before, my Facebook before. She can give you some insights, some nuggets just on setting things up, being in the industry, how to look at things, really what policies and procedures you have to pay attention to, structure, infrastructure. That lets me know this is a wrap. Y'all, thank you so much for staying and listening to all the stuff that's going on at the end. Alistair, you're gonna have to edit some of this stuff out. We might have to re-record some of it, but I thank you for your time. We're gonna have to record, yeah? The end? All right. Take it and let me know what you need to do. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great week. We'll talk to you later. Talks with the Tax Cop is over.